Hey everyone, welcome to ReBloom, the podcast where we explore the power of change, rediscovery, and living with intention.
That's right. We're your hosts, Lori and Jamie, two friends who really love a good story about transformation.
In each podcast, we're going to chat with inspiring guests who've made bold pivots in their lives or careers. They've let go of what no longer served them to embrace something more authentic, joyful, and true to who they really are.
And the best part, many of them reconnect with passions or dreams they discovered as kids. It's about finding the seeds planted long ago and letting them bloom again.
So if you're ready for real conversations about reinvention, purpose, and following your creative heart, you're in the right place.
Let's dive in and see what it takes to rebloom.
Well, Lori, we are in for a treat today.
Oh my gosh, I love this woman so much. And I personally have taken so much away from her by being able to be present and drawing alongside of her on a couple of trips. But hearing her journey and the creativity that surrounds her life is so inspiring. And I really do want to adapt this process into my life, because I just think about this shelf that she has of magical journals that are just going to be handed down in her family.
Yeah, I think so. Today, everyone, we've got Samantha Dion Baker, who's just incredible. And she's going to talk to us about her art journey, which is a long journey. From grandparents to parents to herself and now to her children. And it's just a beautiful story of how creativity has been woven through their family and the magic that they create. And you all are in for a huge treat today. So enjoy, everyone. Enjoy. Well, Lori, how are you?
Hey, James, I got to see you last week.
Oh my gosh, we rebloomed in a big kind of way at your retreat, and it was amazing.
Oh my
Amazing.
gosh, so amazing. And a lot of women said it was life-changing. So how cool is that?
It's so cool. And, I think it reaffirmed to me that what we're doing here on this podcast is so very, very important, because we want to bring stories to our listeners of artists and people who have pivoted along the way, but also people who were not artists and are just pivoting and doing something completely unique. And we just love it. So it was amazing. Amazing.
And I'm so glad you were there. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you. I loved being there. I loved seeing you and hugging you in person. Okay, so we've got a great podcast today.
And I get to introduce my friend, Samantha Dion Baker. And I have gotten the distinct pleasure of traveling with Sam on 2 trips to Mexico and watching her. Like, I got teary-eyed this last time. We were in a coffee shop and I got all teary-eyed watching her work, because I think the sketchbooks that she creates, the journals, are such beautiful treasures. She captures her days, her world, her travels. She's written 3 books that tell that story and how others can do it. She's a graphic designer. She's an artist. She's an illustrator. She's just an amazing person. So, Sam, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Welcome, welcome. Where is home? Where is home, Sam?
I live in Brooklyn, New York, and Brooklyn has been home for almost 18 years.
And your studio looks adorable. You all can't see it, but it's
pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Where are you from originally, Sam?
I'm originally from Philadelphia.
So not too far from home.
Not too far from home. And I went to school in New York and did a little bit of time in Toronto where my husband was finishing school. But other than that, ever since I came to college, I went to Cooper Union in New York City. And other than those 4 years in Toronto, I've lived here ever since.
So take us back. I'm always curious about the childhood piece. Everybody who listens to this know that I ask about that because I want to know what Sam was like as a little girl and what were your influences and what did you love doing?
Oh, well, as long as I can remember, I've drawn and doodled, and I grew up in art studios because my mother is an artist, and so was my grandmother and my grandfather, who shared a studio. My grandfather passed away when I was a baby, but then my grandmother stayed in the same house, and it was her studio. She's a sculptor, or was a sculptor, and she had the most incredible spaces. She worked on huge public commissions. There's in Philadelphia, her sculptures still stand, and she was in the Whitney and Biennial, and she had a great career. And some of her work had to be lifted by crane out of the studio that
Wow.
I got to spend my time in when I was little. So
Wow.
living around women, female artists, because her twin sister, I've written all these stories on my Substack. So if anyone is curious, I've written about my grandmother and her twin, and other things from the past on there. But yeah, they were both artists, and the story is that they drew straws to decide which one would be the sculptor and which one would be the painter, because they didn't want to do the same thing as identical twins. So anyway, this is the world I grew up in, and then my father, who was a lawyer, who kind of supported us. He is a creative also, and really embraced it, and loved our creative family. So I always encouraged. So I think I wrote about this in Draw Your Day, my first book, but it wasn't so much whether I would have a creative life or creative career. It was if I wouldn't,
Yeah.
because
Interesting.
it's just kind of what we did, and it was just my world. So maybe I wouldn't. My father thought I was really good at arguing, so he thought I could be a good lawyer. So anyway, yeah, I could keep going on, but I think that's
So I have a question, and I'm asking this on behalf of my daughter because she grew up with a mother who was a designer, illustrator, whatever, and at sometimes I think that was hard for her, like searching for her own voice or like the comparison thing. Did you experience any of that or
I did, but it was mostly because of my sister.
oh,
Um, because I had my big sister who was my role model as an artist, and she was so incredibly talented. People would say she was like a prodigy. I mean, she could just draw people from such a young age so well, and um, because she could draw so well. And it's interesting that I've written books, all these books on drawing. I didn't think that I was as good, so I decided to go into design and try and carve my own way. And so I did compare to my family, but I think my direct, competition in a way, it was, and it was only me. I mean, she
yeah,
didn't feel it. It
yeah.
was just the little sister thing, and I also wanted to let her shine. So anyway,
So
that,
you drew straws like your grandmother, maybe.
I mean, kind of, although
Kind
it
of.
wasn't a decision.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
something that we decided on. But yeah, I think I just was like, no, I'll do this. I'll be a little more. Maybe I can get a better job, or I can be a little more practical. I'll go into design. So
So you
Oh,
started in graphic design. And did you love that part of your career or
oh, absolutely. I mean, it is so polar opposite in a way to what I'm doing now, because my focus when I started, and also even at school, it's so technical. It's so when I was at Cooper Union, it was Adobe Illustrator and the computer, and everything was just starting. And I learned to like coast through that, but I didn't want to use the computer. It was always this battle of technology with me, even though, but everything was very precise. We had to, hand paint letter forms to learn the differences between the classic typefaces and, all the stuff Lori probably
Yeah, I'm shaking my
you
head. No one can see me, but I'm like, oh yeah, we use Plaka paint and painted
yeah,
those letter
exactly.
forms. Yep.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then, then I went, my first job, actually, my first job was working with two young designers in Toronto, those 4 years that I lived there. I was so lucky, and I'm still friends with them today. And it was so hands-on because they were young and I was their first employee. And then after that, I got a job in New York as an art director, really young at 26. And that was based in the art world. And so that was my way of being like in the art world, but not. So all I was doing was designing invitations, magazine ads, and catalogs and books for art galleries and museums. So if you can imagine, like, very minimal design, very much about typography, clean, the artwork had to shine. And then we were just doing lots of color correcting to get the paintings to match. And I worked with the Frick collection. I worked with the Guggenheim. I worked with Sotheby's. I worked with so many art galleries, and I did catalogs with famous artists like Picasso, Prince, a catalog I have on my shelf, and all these different. Anyway, so it was an amazing part of my career, but it wasn't very creative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was like creative adjacent and very technical and very much on the computer. So I needed an outlet. I needed to like let loose again and like go back to my roots. So here we are today.
So segue into like, how did that happen? That transition into what you're doing now?
Yeah. And when did that happen too?
Well, it wasn't really a conscious decision. The decision was that I was on the computer too much. I really wasn't really that happy because I was so as a young mom, I had my kids, and I had my second, and we moved to Brooklyn, and I was still working freelance and working on all these jobs, some of them still in the art world, and then doing random other things. I had really great clients. And then, but I just needed, like, we needed one parent to be there more. So my work got like pretty part-time, and it just got really stressful to like suddenly have a job and not have full-time help and suddenly be like, I have to, have one baby on my, like, it was just complicated. And my husband is like so supportive, but there was only so much some days he could do because he travels so much for work. Anyway, so I just phased it out. I was like, you know what? I'm going to phase out. I had like just a few clients left. And I wanted to keep my feet in the water, like my toes wet, because I didn't want to have to come back to it. So I always knew I was going to keep working, but that I would just like be there more for my boys. And so I needed something though, because I'm a worker. Yeah. Like I'm so like I couldn't just be. I'm a nervous Nelly mom. Like we would be in the playground and I'd be like, okay, let's go. You're gonna hurt yourself. Let's go. Yeah. I just such a like present and I think pretty good mom.
You are
the feedback I've gotten a good feedback, but like, and I'm really close with my boys, but like I needed something. So I started drawing, and also I have a bad memory. I don't remember everything. Time was going by so fast. And so I just started writing more, and I always kept a sketchbook and a journal, but the drawings were very minimal at that time. I was just writing down little notes and little things and maybe like a doodle here or there. And then it just like kind of built. And then I was sharing on Instagram back in like 2014. So Instagram was still
pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah. And I created a second account, S. Dion Baker Design, which is still my handle. I can't do anything about it. There's a story to that. Anyway, that's it. I just like one thing led to another. And I just like, I always say that my career is like walking ahead of me to like 5 or 10 steps. And I'm just like, I guess I'm going here now. I guess I'm doing that now. Like, it wasn't a conscious plan.
So you started, the kids were little, and I think that happens to a lot of young moms too. I mean, we sort of back out of one career and we start to balance our lives. I mean, you have to, whether it be the husband staying home or however we reset, and then you pick up the sketchbook. And did you immediately, I mean, as you said, you were doodling. When did that start to evolve and you start to go, wait a minute. How did that process happen?
So a lot of what I was doodling at that time was letters.
Okay.
Because I love drawing letters and I love typography, but I do it in my own way. And so I was just copying letters, writing words. I mean, it all started mostly with patterns and words and letter forms. And then I slowly started to draw things and then drawing more and more. And then it became about the composition and I started arranging a lot of things together because that's the design. And when I shared it, I started getting a following and it was like, and then suddenly I'm going to say it was like in 2015, maybe a year in or so.
Yeah. No.
I was like, I'm drawing my day. Like it didn't have that name, but it was like a drawn journal.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I got really into Instagram about then too, about 2015, and the community was very different back then. But that's how I started on my own art path. What was it that you were hearing or what were you sharing? And what was the feedback that you were getting that was helping you in that community to know how to move forward and what direction to move forward, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't, it wasn't the, like, it didn't help form the path, if that makes sense, or like,
yes, yeah.
It just enhanced it. And I was like, oh, people are liking this. Oh, yeah. I'm getting a few new followers. Oh, and then I can't remember what year it was. Oh my God, I should know. 2016, a year later, Instagram featured me. So
oh wow.
Then, yeah.
Bye-bye.
And back then,
blew
like
up.
when, yeah. And back then it was like, they featured me. They wrote a little story and featured like a flip through of my book. And then it was like, it kind of blew up. And so once that happened, it was like, I said to my mom, what am I doing this for? Cause I was really, really compulsive about it. Every single day I designed and finished a page. And my kids were like, what, they went with it. They helped. It was about their lives and my life. And, it's a gift that they can look back on them. They're sitting all on my shelves, like their whole entire life, basically. And, it's funny. I say, like, even to this day, they never got upset when I was drawing. Sometimes maybe, but like never like when I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah.
So, the phone being part of the process became like the bad part of it. And so like the Instagram was like you know what I mean? The negative, because it took me away from, but I love Instagram for all it gave me. So
yeah. Let's take a quick minute and thank our amazing sponsors. Our podcast is proudly brought to you today by Jet Creative and Urban Stems. Jet Creative is a women-owned marketing firm committed to community and empowerment since 2013. Are you ready to rebloom and build a website or start a podcast? Visit jetcreative.com/podcast to kickstart your journey. They will help you bloom in ways you never imagined. And bonus, our listeners get an exclusive discount when you mention ReBloom. And a huge thanks to Urban Stems, your go-to and our go-to source for fresh, gorgeous bouquets and gifts delivered coast to coast. Use Bloom Big 20 and save 20% on your next order. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at ReBloom Podcast. Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to you for joining us today.
What I love about how you work, well, first of all, I look at the ones that I've seen, and they truly are heirlooms that will be passed down in your family. And what a beautiful, beautiful gift. But I think you said this about when you are capturing your day the way you do in drawing and writing, it's committed to memory in a way that's much more deep than if you just shoot a photo of it. And I was never one, like, when I'm with you on trips, I was never one to draw how you all do, where we go to a coffee shop and sketchbooks are out and you're drawing the people and the, everything. But I tried it myself when I was in Italy last year. I sat in this plaza and drew the people in the building, and like that day is really seared in my memory because of doing that. And I always think back to you saying that. So I just love, love, love how you work. And I totally see that you come from a graphic design background, how you design the pages. Like I so see it. So I so relate to how you approach the journals that you create.
Yeah, I think that, and I think I've mentioned this in some way in all of my books, that drawing is a decision. You have to want to do it. And what you draw, what you decide to draw, no matter what it is at any moment, is going to bring you back. So it doesn't have to be the people in the cafe and the people, because I don't really do that either, Lori, it's sometimes something completely random, like the
Yeah.
tiles on the floor, or like the lamp, or something on the wall, or just something I like. I want to draw that, and that will make me remember this place. So, you don't like, I'm with you, because when we would go and sit at cafes with everyone, I definitely draw differently than everyone else does as well. But it's the same moment.
Right.
So I can be in the moment and I can draw it in my own way. But it's that slowing down and processing something in a way, because you don't see anything the same way as you see it in a photograph or passing by. You don't see it the same way as when you draw it.
You're so right. It's committing it to memory in a whole different way. So I've just appreciated watching you work. So tell us all the things that you're involved in now. I know you teach and you do a lot of different things. So talk about where this journey has led you.
Well, I like to, I don't want to let go of anything. Sometimes
None of us do.
So I still do design, minimally, but in a way, it's always there. And I've written 4 books. I mean, 3, and I know you're not wrong when you say 3. It's just there was a kid's book squeezed in there, and my 4th, 3rd, however you want to look at it, comes out in July. So there's a lot going on with that. It's very soon, and so I'm just sort of. I love making books and I love writing them and working on them, but I don't like this part. So the promoting and the selling is my least favorite part. But I've been really lucky because obviously they've sold well enough that they have me make more. So,
Can you tell us what the new book is about?
Oh, yeah. So the new book is called Draw Your Adventures. Oh. But it's not limited to travel, like traditional travel. That's only part of it. It's all adventure. So the idea that when you open your door, a new adventure begins. Like if you're going to the DMV to, so like doctor's appointments. So the adventures that kind of choose us that we don't choose, to, a laundry adventure to, I mean, anything can be an adventure if you see it through the lens of, of like positive
Yeah.
experience and um, yeah, it's like seeing all that we do through the lens of adventure. So
It's the everyday moments that imprint on your heart, I think
yeah,
it's kind of, that I think that's a great idea. I love that.
It's
Love
then
it.
very
there's like
childlike too. Like kids,
Yeah.
when they go out in the world, everything is an adventure. Like, everything.
yeah, I even put something playful in there, some scavenger hunts that I've always loved scavenger hunts, and it always sort of gives purpose. Like if you don't know what to draw, so um, there's some playfulness in there too. I was going to do choose your own adventure. That would be like part of the book, like, and you would like turn to page 80 to like figure out whatever. Um, but we decided on the scavenger hunts instead. Um, so it's an adventure in itself. The book, I'm hoping that it's filled with prompts, it's filled with ideas, it's filled with examples. It's not a teaching book, it's not like a how-to book. It's to how you can see the world differently and all of your experiences in a new way. And no matter how you draw it, through abstract line and color to like precise drawings of the people in the cafe. um, yeah, so
I love
I
that.
love it.
love
I was
that.
sitting with Kenzie. We were planning for a retreat the other day, and we're sitting in this cafe, and I was talking about how it was traveling in Mexico, and I said half the people would have been drawing that guy sitting at that table, and we both said, but we'd be drawing the packaging on that shelf right there because that's what we notice. And so I think that's cool that everybody can approach this practice in their own way and
Yeah.
notice and
totally.
draw and write about the things that caught their eye or their attention. And so I love
Yes,
that philosophy.
yes,
I love it, and I think it's about being, it's really about being mindful in the moment. And as you said, it's taking the things that imprint that you brought to that situation that really make an impact. And I love that about how it could be colors or lines. And Lori and I we go round and round about all this because I'm a photographer, not I don't draw. Although I'm better on Procreate, I've been working really hard, really, really hard. So now I'm thinking, what could I do? But I think you're giving people permission wherever they show up to do that. And I love that because I think sometimes we feel like we can't, and we shouldn't say that to our soul, or we should just try, just do it.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and I I tell every single student, everybody I meet, there is nothing you do is wrong.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
Yeah.
And everyone's an artist, and everyone can, if you can write your name, you can draw.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways you can take this book and use it as inspiration. So so I'm excited about that, and I just found out I have another book coming.
Yay!
Yay!
So
Can you
I
talk
have
about
it.
that one? What's that?
I don't know. I think that I can, but I haven't like signed the contract yet. I have my first
We'll
meeting.
wait on that one then.
Yeah, I feel like I should hold off on it, but there is another one coming, which I've heard is a very nice compliment in a way, because if the publisher wants you to sign a new book deal before one comes
Yeah,
out,
that's amazing.
Way to
then
go.
they're pretty happy with what's happening. So I'll see. It's a different project, but I'm excited.
So, what I'm finding interesting is that as a girl, you were feeling like you didn't draw as well as your sister. And so you went down a different path. And now everything you're doing centers around drawing. So, I love that.
Teaching others to draw. I love
Yeah,
that
teaching
though.
others to draw. So, I'm happy that little comparison thief didn't didn't get in your way to circle back to what you're doing, because you really draw like exquisitely well. Like,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
What's really nice is my sister, I think, is happy as well that that little voice in my head didn't stop me,
Yeah.
or it only, So, I mean, the pencil and the pen and the sketchbook just sort of led its own, like I said, it just happened. And I taught myself, I mean, people say, how do you do this? Or what's the best approach? And how should I get started on this? Or what? And I'm always like, you just got to do it and practice.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
um, everyone says that, but it's
Y-
so, I mean, sometimes people just need to be reminded, like, there's no other way to get
Yeah.
better
At
than to just
anything.
do it.
At
Yeah.
anything.
I mean, it's very obvious, but it's also sometimes not.
It
So,
Yeah.
takes
um,
practice. And when
takes
it comes to
practice.
art, for some reason, people have this idea in their head that you either are good, you're an artist, or you're not. And it's born in you, and it takes practice. And
Takes a
you
lot of
get
practice.
rusty,
Yeah.
just like an athlete that doesn't work out regularly. You get rusty, and then you have to get back at it and practice. I mean, you were drawing daily in your sketchbook, and that you were honing your skills.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah. I
you
mean,
are you still doing your pages daily?
not daily, but, it depends. I mean, obviously, if I'm on a trip, then I take more time, which is hard too, because then it takes a little bit away. That I write about that in Draw Your Adventures, like sort of how to
Yeah.
balance that time, your time. Um, I would say I draw in my sketchbook at least twice, three times. I'll do 2 or 3 pages a week.
Yeah.
When I find that there's something I really want to draw and want to remember. So, yeah.
That's
So I'm
neat.
going to take you down a little different path now. I want you to talk about your boys, because this creativity gene has continued on, and they are fascinating, I think. So can you talk a little bit about them?
Sure. It's like my other favorite thing to talk about. Yeah, I'm really proud of them. They both found their own creative path that is very different than mine or my husband's. And we just, we're just so happy that they, are following their own, you know, their own journey, and we're supportive of it. Ian is my older son, and he was given a camera when I think he was 15 or 14, and he just, a lot of kids really, it's a great way of like seeing the world through the lens. Jamie, you can relate to
Yeah.
that, and not on your phone, on a
Yeah.
through the lens of like an actual camera. And yeah, he goes to the Savannah College of Art and Design, is now in their film program. And so he was on last week. He was on 2 film sets, and I
Amazing.
got some behind the scenes, some photographs that
Awesome.
it was so cool, just what he's doing. And it's very collaborative there. So he was helping one of his friends on their fashion merchandising project, um, and doing a whole film shoot for her and with the whole crew. And
I love
anyway,
it.
it's
I love
super
that.
exciting. And the film studios at SCAD are like Hollywood studios. It's incredible.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, they have like a whole mock city, like
Wow.
that you walk through, and it's like it's all just set.
Wow.
Wow. It's
Um,
incredible. It's an incredible
yeah,
school. Yeah.
yeah, and they have so much money, and they just keep. I think they've now like they can't buy any more buildings in Savannah. They
Oh,
just
Wow.
couldn't
wow.
stop.
I
Yeah,
might
because
have to pop by there. We're going to Hilton Head on our family vacation.
oh my gosh, go
Then,
through.
yeah, I
Yeah.
should. We went into Savannah last year. Maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go to the museum. It's a really world world class museum at this point. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
yeah, their museum is beautiful. So So and then Theo, my younger son, he got into some clothes. It's a little trendy. A lot of kids are like recycling and sort of upcycling clothes and buying vintage and remaking things, learning how to sew. He's just taken it to a whole other level, and he's Lori. I mean,
Oh my
he's
gosh. I mean, you
yeah,
should see the things that he makes. Like she'll be wearing this great hat and I'm like, "Oh, where'd you get that hat?" "Oh, Theo made it." Yeah.
Amazing. How
yeah.
old
He
is he?
made
Is he in college yet? Or is he
no.
still?
He's in high school. He's in 11th. He's finishing 11th grade. He wants to go to art school for
Yeah.
fashion. He wants to go to school in London. We'll see what happens. And I mean, there's no, or Paris, or well,
Yeah.
anywhere in Europe. He just wants to be in Europe because of fashion. And yeah, he's fully designing and making things. It's amazing.
Wow.
I am in awe of just the generational.
Oh,
Yeah.
his
Go ahead.
his sewing machine is there because we
Oh,
didn't have enough room for it in our home. So it's here in the studio. We share it, the
I
space.
I love
I
that.
love it. Well, I'm thinking back, Lori and I interviewed Todd Oldham, which was just so fun to
I
chat with
heard that
him.
one. Yeah.
Oh, and you're reminding me, Lori, is
I
this,
was thinking that earlier when you talked about growing up in a creative
yeah,
family and, the question would have been if you didn't go down that
yeah,
path because it was just sort of in the DNA, in the environment and it seems like that's carried through. Like your
yeah,
grandparents, were their parents also artists?
So it's interesting. No, I don't think so. But my grandfather's mother and my grandmother used her sewing machine. It was a Singer, beautiful. Sadly, we got rid of it before we knew, when Theo was little, when my grandmother passed away. But she used her mother-in-law's sewing machine. So the she was at I think she made like gowns and wedding dresses.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to get that wrong. My mother's told me I should remember. But anyway, she was like an expert dressmaker and tailor. And so somehow there's something in that, in that.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it also comes from my husband because he's a maker and a builder. And so, like, I think it's random. I'm like, how did he start to like sew clothes? I don't know anything about it's totally different than what I do or even what his brother does. And I'm like, but it's actually in there, it's
Yeah.
all.
yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty
Well,
magic.
it's magical, and it's kind of like you were saying about the journals. Like, your boys, you expose them to the same things, but one saw one thing and the other saw something else. And I think that's the beauty of kids is that, we can all go on trips or we can all do things and you think, "Did you go on the same trip I did because I saw," but I think that's the children do that. They pick up the thing that they love and that they're attracted to, and you as parents have encouraged that. So that's amazing. That's just brilliant. Brilliant.
I was just teaching at a retreat with Carrie Schmidt. I don't know if you know Carrie, but
Yeah.
so her story is she had some really severe health issues and she really believes that creativity saved her life.
Mm.
And so she is very devoted to creativity. And so I just wonder what your views are on living a creative life and how important that is.
It's hard to say really because I don't. Well, I just have to say, and I think it's related. There was I heard Sir Ken Robinson speak once at a benefit for one of my kids' school, like when they were younger. And there was a story that he shared about this kid and his who was like very antsy and like couldn't keep, and he was always like jumping around and jumping and doing things that were like, and you can see one set of parents being like, stop, sit still, you're driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And then another set of parents who are like, let's take him to the gym, right? Let's take him to, and this kid became like an Olympian, like gymnast. And it's like, if we don't, and we totally made like all of us cry and we were like, oh my gosh, because it's so true. And if you
Yeah.
if you don't like as parents too, or just as people, like if you don't embrace and sort of let yourself lean into um, things that a lot of people will just dismiss as a hobby or like a side thing. But, you know, I was just doodling in a sketchbook and it blossomed into like, I'm writing, you know, I'm on my fifth project or whatever number it is. I don't
Yeah.
know. And like, it's you if it feels good and it feels right. I mean, some of it's a luxury, some of it's a privilege because there's a lot of people who just, you know, they have to make money and work, and you know, so I speaking with like, you know, but that reality is there for a lot of people. But you know, there's so many possibilities, and it can save your life, and it can like lead to so much more, and it shouldn't be ignored. And um, I don't know if I was on a ramble there, but you
No,
know.
No.
I love it. You know, it's funny. I went to a little I'm a new grandmother, and I went down to visit my grandson last weekend. And it's funny because when my son, who is very successful and does fine. I remember him sitting on my lap as a baby and he was all over the place. He was the classic, you know, little ADD kid all over. And I'm like, sit on my lap. Why can't you be the baby that sits on your mommy's lap, whatever? But he was all over the place. And it's funny how time and wisdom, my grandson is exactly the same way. But now I'm like, go Jack, you go be you go be uniquely you go explore over there, don't sit in the circle, go do whatever. And you know, it's funny, and because I think that that is, your parents gave you that permission and you've given your children that permission. And you're right, it's keeping that creativity in our lives, which we all need, however it comes to us and however we choose to express it. And whether you've picked a straw and gone down sculpture lane or painting or drawing or graphic design or photography, or, I mean,
Or
it's just
cooking or gardening
cooking or
or
Yeah,
gardening.
or
making
And
bourbon.
performance or singing, or you
Yeah.
know, I think about the performing arts too, you know.
Yeah.
it's just needs to be part of your soul, I think. And just like breathing, like I can't imagine now not being creative. And for so long I wasn't, and I don't think I was very happy until, I don't know, it's a sort of this lovely happiness that fills you up, I think.
It's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
calming because, yeah, I watch our grandsons, and when they are in a, you know, making whatever it is, because they're always doing that at our house, at Mimi's house, there's just this focus and this calmness that happens when they're busy making something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's so special. And you know, there when I remember when Draw Your Day came out in 2018, and I was actually, it was a little bit of a surprise, but I was like, oh my gosh, of course, that it was categorized in the art therapy section. Um, it wasn't something that I discussed or like I thought about really. But it is bringing it back to the what I do and what I encourage, and you know, it doesn't have to be your life, but it can enhance, and it can
Yeah.
um, you know, just be something that, you know, to have this outlet, but also capture your memories and be able to, you know, look back on your progress and also look back on your experiences. That is like a therapy. That's, you know, it's just good for the soul. And all the little challenges that go in there, like hating the drawing that you made or versus loving it, and all those feelings, and like
Been there.
it's yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's all part of it. It's like part of that process, and it's like the in any creative practice, it's, you know, two steps forward, one step back, and you know, so but the little victories and how that feels, and it's, yeah, I'm thrilled that my work can be in that category of art
Do
therapy.
you
So
witness that when you're teaching live, that it, like, people have breakthroughs? And I imagine you
definitely,
do. Yeah.
That's
definitely,
pretty
yeah,
special. That's pretty special. And, but you know, I think the other thing that's interesting too is coming from a creative family, and you and your husband, as you said, your husband's a maker too. You know that there's a business side of it too. So I think that you can encourage your children, and I'm sure others, it's, you know, you can do something. I mean, it's not, you're just not coloring. I mean, you're creating a business, You've created a
Mm-hmm. Oh
business
yeah.
strategically. Can you talk about the business side of it at all? I mean, how that's evolved from being a graphic designer and a freelancer to now you're your own brand and your own business.
Yeah. It's I've always worked for myself, other than that one job, those two first jobs that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So I was art director at 26, and I think it was around, I can't remember exactly how many years I was there, but it was a handful of years. And then I decided to start my own business with a business partner who I'm still friends with. And she's like a sister to me. And then the business and the making money part of my work has always been there. I've always felt the pressure. I always wanted, like, if I was going to work, that I made enough money to justify, paying for help in order to work, or, I didn't want it. I wanted to, and when my kids were little, I wanted to definitely, like, contribute to our family, rather than just, having my work kind of be a burden or cost us money. So there's always this pressure to sort of stay ahead. And anyway, I don't, the brand part of it and the business part of what I do now, it's just been part of that same, like, process. I mean, it's not a conscious decision. I'm not like a really good business person, but I've had to step up, and the more I do, the more that becomes a part of it. And
Yeah.
we,
It goes hand in hand. I mean, it
it just
definitely
goes
goes
hand in
hand in
hand.
hand. It
Yeah.
does. But it's amazing and encouraging that you've created this beautiful business, and it's a creative business, and it's blossomed in so many beautiful ways. It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think I would for so many years. And I just did a whole video with Skillshare. They came and did a whole studio tour. It'll air in July. I'm excited. And a lot of it was talking to other people about making the leap to, like, have a designated space.
Mm.
Neat.
And that was a big turning point in my career, was like getting out of the apartment. Part of it was New York living,
Mm-hmm.
and, just our situation. But then part of it was like, I can do this. I make enough money. And the more I, like, once I do it, I'll make more money. I will live into it. I'll make it work. And,
Yeah.
you, as long as you're responsible and it's not, like, completely unreasonably,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
but you're going to make it work. Like, we
Yeah.
Yeah.
we step up when we have to,
When you have the passion, the drive, the commitment, all of that.
Yeah, I had this space for almost 7 years. Like,
Yeah.
And it's a lovely space. I wish people could see it because it's gorgeous. It's just bright and
Well,
light.
the studio. Thank you. The studio tour will be.
We'll all have to watch it on
I'll be
Skillshare.
able to see all the details.
I might be coming to New York in September again. I hope so. If you're
Oh,
around,
yay!
maybe I
Oh,
can
yeah.
see you.
I'll
That'd
be
be
there.
great.
I'll be there next week. I'm teaching at the New York Botanical Garden. I love to teach there. It's so fun. And yeah, I mean, it's just there's so much inspiration, but now I feel like I need to journal while I'm there. So I'm going to
Yes.
I
Yes.
know, now I'm feeling inspired. And, I think you've given us so much to think about as far as just imprinting these moments on our life and pivoting, and what a beautiful journey you've had.
Thank you.
And you're still having. And more
Yeah.
books coming. It's incredible, incredible.
I'm
Thank
honored
you.
to know you, Miss.
Oh,
Oh, it's mutual, Lori.
well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Sam, for sharing your story with us
Thank you for
today.
having me. It was
Oh,
great. So nice to talk to both of you.
it's great. And I hope everybody takes a little bit of something away from this today. And if anything, it's please go buy yourself a beautiful journal and do some daily sketching. And I'm going to do it. I can tell you that.
Or
And
writing.
or
Writing's
Yeah.
writing,
fine.
or maybe pictures that are combined with it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Yeah.
Try
exactly.
to do both. I know. I'm like, how can I merge this? I don't know. But thank you so much for sharing your journey. I think it's just a beautiful one, and we appreciate you being here. And
Thank you.
to our
Can't
guests,
wait to get the new book.
I know, get the new book, everyone, and to our listeners, peace, love, and rebloom. Life is too short not to follow your passions, so go out there and let your heart plant you where you are meant to be and grow your joy.
We will be right here sharing more incredible stories of reinvention with you. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode of ReBloom.
Until next time, I'm Jamie Jameson.
And I'm Lori Siebert.
Peace, love, and rebloom, dear friends.